It's November 16th, 2018.
This is Nerd Bourbon episode 76. I'm Seth Sturgill.
And I'm Todd Sturgill.
Hello, Todd.
Hello, Seth.
How are you doing today?
How are you? I am good.
It's a little Nerd Bourbon at night tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Little illicit recording session here. We wanted to get this recorded while I don't have construction going on outside, because my apartment complex has been doing some useless construction during the day. Right off the top, Todd, I think it's important to address... It's been a pretty major news week, actually, in the realm of, like, nerdy stuff, but undoubtedly the biggest thing to happen in pop culture news this week is the passing of Stan Lee. I think we need to stop and talk about that for a second. We have decided not to just, do an entire, like, Stan Lee episode, just because we did discuss that for a second, and we were just like, it's a little clickbaity.
Yeah. I wouldn't stand for it. I'd want to do it. There's nothing wrong with, like, touching on it. But...
There's nothing wrong with talking about it, and I think it's impossible not to at least talk about it and address it and talk about the man for a second and just kind of pay our respects to him. But I didn't want to, I didn't want to do anything for the sake of clicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's disrespectful. But, so Stan Lee passed away this week. He was 95 years old. And I just wanted to, at the top here, just sort of address that and talk about our experience and just sort of, like, give our thoughts on his legacy and everything. And I wanted to, moreover, Todd, I wanted to tell the story of the day he passed away, because I'm telling you, and you said it best, it was like there was a disturbance in the force. Like, it was crazy. I've never experienced anything quite like it. So I've long had the thought and sort of like this recurring nightmare that I just knew, because I mean, it's no secret, Stan Lee has been in bad health lately, and he was getting up there in age and stuff like that. I mean, the man lived a very long life. And there's always that thought of, like, I'm just going to wake up one day and I'm just going to check Twitter and he's going to be gone. And, like, I kept having that nightmare. Like, over the years, I've had that nightmare. I just knew that one day that was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. I got home from work late and I got to bed late. And I'd only gotten like 2 hours of sleep. And then my body just sort of like woke me up, which happens sometimes. Because I'm like, I'm like a light sleeper. Like I said, there's been construction going on outside of my apartment right now. And like, it's not uncommon for me to only get a couple hours of sleep and then like wake up feeling like shit. So that happened that morning. And like, I kind of rolled over and grabbed my phone and looked at it. And literally minutes ago, it was within like 2 minutes, TMZ had broken the story that Stan Lee had passed away. And it was so strange. Like, I'd never seen a story like that fresh before, because TMZ was the first place. They had the exclusive. They were the first place to report on it. And it wasn't even like one of those situations where I could look around to see if it was real, because they were the first people to report on it. It was that fresh. And I immediately just kind of processed it for a second. And like, I texted Dan, who you guys may have heard on one of our past few episodes. I texted him, who's an enormous, Marvel Comics fan, even more so than you and I. And I just texted him just one word. I was just like, dude. And he told me, he was with a patient, and he's like, dude, I never check my phone when I'm with a patient. He's like, that never happens, like, literally. But something told me to look at it, and the second I saw your text, I just knew. Just from that one word, just somehow he just knew. And then not long after that is when you messaged me, and you were like, I did not want to wake up and see this.
Yeah, it was... It's a weird thing for me, because like I don't wake up like that the way I woke up.
Right.
Like, it was like I went to sleep at 11. I messaged you, and I'm like, hey, we're probably not gonna hang out today. I'm just gonna probably sleep all day.
Yeah.
And 2 hours.
Yeah. And then the disturbance and the force shook us
like
all.
I woke up, and like I'm telling you, it was like weird. I woke up like in the middle of like some like REM sleep. Because here's the thing, I sleep hard. Like, just to prove how hard I sleep. Like, dude, my fucking face was like shoved into my mattress. And I woke up just like, what the fuck's going on? And I normally don't check my phone. Ever. Like, I don't really give a fuck about my phone. My phone's a glorified MP3 player. But,
it's just so weird, man.
And, oh yeah, I checked my phone. And I had the luxury of being able to, like...
Confirm it.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm like, bullshit. It's like, bullshit, Stan. That's a hoax. Like, I went to Twitter, and I'm seeing like tweets from like Chris Evans and shit, like all them. I'm like, oh no.
It's so weird, man. Like, it was just, I've never had an experience like that where just literally like it was like, I mean, it's the best way to describe it. It was a disturbance.
It was a disturbance of the force. It was like the first thing I said to you. I was like,
it really was. I mean, like, it was like just there was something not right in the universe when he left it.
Something was fucking wrong when I woke up.
Yeah. Like when he left the universe, he took something with him, and we could like feel it, and it was just, I don't know, it was just a crazy experience. And I keep telling myself like, man, like I still haven't really processed it. I can't believe it actually happened, and there's going to come a day, not anytime soon, because I think it has been confirmed that he's already done his cameos for Captain Marvel and, the next Avengers and stuff like that, but one of these Marvel movies is just not going to have him in it, and like it's just gonna, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, it's I can't wrap my mind around it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going to rattle on and on about his legacy or anything like that, because the man's his legacy really speaks for itself. I mean, he is a super influential figure to me, and literally millions of others, and especially just not even just as a writer, but just as like a person. Like, the thing that I always come back to when I talk about Stan Lee and the reason that I respected him so much is because, like, when he wrote his superheroes, he made being a good person attractive. How do you make goodness attractive? It's like, it's the quality that I talked about when we sort of reviewed the Spider-Man PS4 game. And I talked about how I was really attracted to it because, like, Peter Parker is just he's just a good dude. And Stan, like, he wrote characters like that, and he made it cool to be the good guy, and like, and I really love and respect that about his writing, and it really, I'm a better person because of Stan Lee. And like, I'm not really a like religious or spiritual person or anything like that, but like, definitely something happened when he died. Something happened for sure, and it's weird. It's a weird thing, and I don't know if I'm fully going to process it, but and I'm sorry to sort of intro the episode on a down note, I guess, but I just wanted to acknowledge that at the top. And I think, kind of acknowledged it at the top, and just kind of like tip our hats and pay our respects and move on with the show as normal. So, to Stan Lee, we salute you, sir. Excelsior.
I was waiting for one of us to say.
We salute you, and rest in peace. Todd, to make the most severe left turn ever, to go from a somber note to a weird, hilarious note, let's stop for a second and just talk about, we're gonna get into what we've been playing, and we're gonna get into the news, but I feel like I just have to talk about this fucking Detective Pikachu trailer. I just gotta talk about it. I need to. Because it's something. What do you make of it?
After I said this. You actually, I didn't know it actually came out, and you're the one that told me. It was like, oh yeah, you need to watch that shit. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out right now. As I'm watching it, I'm just like, I'm down.
This
I don't care.
thing,
Like,
dude, this movie looks fucking buck wild.
it's like,
I can't believe this movie exists. And I told you sort of my feeling on it. I was like, I don't know if it looks good or bad. I don't know if I like it or not. But I will tell you that I'm 1,000% seeing it at day one.
That's kind of my thing. I'm just like, I don't care if it's gonna be shit. Like, I just kind of want to see it.
It could be a train wreck, but my God, I just have got to see it. And like, oh my God, I don't even know where to begin to talk about this. You gotta think of it this way, right? Like, to just unpack this concept, making a live action Pokemon movie is already a bad idea, right? Already a bad idea. Making a talking Pikachu movie is already.
Here's the thing. Pokemon just don't look good. They look weird.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely have thoughts on that. But then, yeah, like making a talking Pikachu movie is a bad idea. And then, it's funny because you kind of forget when you're watching the trailer, oh yeah, this is a detective talking. This is not only a live action Pokemon movie. This is not only a talking Pikachu movie. This is a live action Pokemon talking Pikachu movie wherein the talking Pikachu is also a detective and has to uncover like a missing persons case. It's like, what? No element of this should work. Like, this should be a total garbage fire. And I don't know. Like, I don't know what to think about. And yeah, just to stop for a second, like you were saying, the designs of the Pokemon, of the live action Pokemon, are so, I'm right. I keep teetering on the edge. I can't decide if I love them or hate them.
Like, there's something off-putting about them, though.
They're so clearly disturbing.
Yes.
It's like,
the thing is, though, like I was talking about, I was talking about this before we started recording, is Jigglypuff.
Yes.
Like, people are like bitching about it being furry. I'm like, shit, I'm happy it's furry. Because I don't want to imagine it being like naked and like wrinkly or some shit, like a fucking ball sack or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is everybody's like, why are some of these Pokemon, why is Pikachu furry? I'm like, what did you want? He's supposed to be like a rodent kind of Pokemon, Yeah, he's gonna be furry, But I also just some of the design choices are so strange. Like the weird like Charizard looks so weird. Mm-hmm. Like he's just this weird, scaly, like shiny vor ass like dragon. It just somebody made the comment, he looks like Donkey's wife in Shrek.
That's good.
It's just it's so strange. I just can't. And what's funny though is the set design is like immaculate. Like all of the things in the background, like all of the love and care and attention to detail is like out of this world. Like when you look at the backgrounds and like the little Easter eggs just in this trailer alone, I'm like, oh my God, like they really give a fuck, Like the set dressing is the perfect Pokemon live action aesthetic, right? And I don't really know to talk about the sort of like, the live action Pokemon designs. How could they have done it better? Because to your point, they couldn't have just made them like all smooth and like,
it would have been weird. It would have been weirder, honestly.
I mean, the only other thing I can think of is if they took like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit approach, where like,
okay,
they're just dead ass like cartoons. But
nah, fuck that though. I kind of like the CG.
But yeah, that doesn't really make sense either though, because this is supposed to be a co-inhabited, world. So I mean, we have to all look like we exist in the same world. So I think this is literally the best route they could have gone with it. Now, they didn't necessarily have to make them. I think that less might have been more in terms of the detail, though. Like, I didn't need to see, like, the veins on Mr. Mime's head. I didn't need to see, like, the freckles on his craggly, disgusting skin.
Are you shitting on Mr. Mime?
Oh, it's a great scene, but he is like, it is nightmare fuel. These,
I love it.
dude, like they look like Mr. Mime and Jiggly, but these look like, you know when people sometimes do like those hyper realistic like cartoon characters, like they do fan art of like hyper realistic like Homer Simpson.
Yeah, that's like absolutely like disturbing and creepy as shit.
Yeah, like oh, this is what SpongeBob would look like in real life. That's what these Pokemon designs are. You know? And to that point, I think literally they hired somebody that does that kind of art. I think I read a Kotaku article that said,
Oh, did they? Oh, wow.
yeah. I think they actually hired somebody that's like famous for realistic Pokemon art. So, that's just, I just can't believe it. I can't believe the movie exists. And you know what, though, I will say to say something good about the movie, I actually really like the lead. I don't know the actor's name, but he, like, I totally buy him. Like, I think he's really charming, and he looks like he's, I don't know, like I liked him in the trailer, you know? And I kind of like that they, you know, he's got Detective Pikachu, and then his sidekick has, like, a Psyduck, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I loved all the little, just like I said, just little bits of set dressing, like the you know, in the background, the giant Gengar and Jigglypuff like balloons that look like they're in that classic Pokemon style, and all the little like background Pokemon, the Charmander that's like using his tail to help somebody cook in the street.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's a lot of actually like love and care, and I'm actually just like super down for this movie. And I don't know why, but I'm super down for this movie.
Just gotta enjoy it.
That's gonna be a day one watch. I will be there at midnight for Detective Pikachu. Take it to the bank. Todd, what have you been playing this week?
Diablo.
That's pretty much it, right? Just been a lot of Diablo.
I mean, you're still fucking around with Red Dead.
Oh yeah,
but
still dipping your toes in that.
Well, yeah, like messing around with like the end game.
Yeah. No spoilers, but yes.
That's basically just the non-spoiler answer of like just doing the end game shit.
Right. We have been playing a lot of Diablo though.
Oh Lord, 15 hours since it came out.
More than
15
that.
plus at this point.
More
15 plus at this point.
About to say, I think I'm approaching that 25-hour mark. It's pretty bad. And it just, I mean, this is within 10 days. It's pretty rough. We've been playing a lot of Diablo, and I just want to stop for a quick second and talk about how disgusting we are with that game in general. Because, you know, we both put hundreds of hours in the PS4 version, and like even before the console versions came out, I mean, shit, I put hundreds of hours on the PC version. So it's like, I've spent so much time with Diablo 3 over the years. I mean, the game's like 7 years old now, you know, but I've still spent so much time with it. So it's hilarious how much of that translated to the Switch.
That's the whole thing. Like we basically already have the experience, and we just took that and just fucking ran with it in the Switch version. Like we ended up again, like you said, doing the most disgusting shit of life. And like what we were by the I think by the end of Act 2, I think we were like on Master.
Yeah, we were playing at the highest difficulty available by the time we were in Act 2, because the only reason we didn't do Torment is because the game wouldn't let us.
Mm-hmm. and the moment we reached Act 5,
we did bump it up.
Yeah,
at
we
that
bumped
point.
up the Torment.
So yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's funny. Like, it just made me. I'm like, man, we play this game at such a higher level. You know, we've just spent so much time with this game, and now it's to the point where it's just sort of, you know, the end game stuff where you're doing adventure mode and you're doing the Nephilim rifts and you're, you know, gathering your set gear, and
yeah, it's like not even like geared up like I would like to be. Like I'm just casually chilling, and like I can solo Torment 3 right now, just chilling.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
I think, and again, this is after only, you know, 20, 25 hours. I think we could probably get away with bumping it up to 4 or 5, honestly. 5 might be pushing it, but 4, I think for sure.
5 would definitely be pushing it. 4 we can definitely handle.
But I'm
four
just
four right now would basically be like we'd have to think a little more about like
yeah.
shit hitting us, basically like the arcane beams and all that crap.
But the game just, I just, for a second, I just want to talk about how perfectly that game translated to Switch,
Oh
and
God.
with the power of the Switch. But no, I'm just seriously though. I mean, it translated perfectly. It plays wonderfully, and it never slows down. And yeah, I think you even said that you're looking at the PS4 version and you could tell like there's a little dip in graphical fidelity.
It is. It definitely looks a little shittier, but
Yeah.
it's like who cares?
But to me,
It's
like
fucking
to my
Diablo.
memory, I look at it and I'm just like, yeah, that's totally like recognizably Diablo 3.
Well, you're also biased, and I was just
I mean, a little, I guess, but I just, and I was playing it in handheld mode, like at my mom's tonight while I was doing laundry, and it just plays so well. Like, there's no reason for it to be as good as it is.
It's funny as I still haven't fucked with it in handheld.
It's perfect. Like, it just plays perfectly in handheld. It's exactly what you want from a handheld Diablo experience. It's like so good, and I could just sit there and I could just comfortably do adventure mode and Nephilim rifts in the palm of my hand.
That's good.
I mean, it's crazy, man. Like the game is so perfectly suited for Switch. It's like unfair. I love it. Yeah, I really really love it. It's been a great experience on Switch, and it's really rekindled my love for that game. I've been enjoying it. Now, a lot of games are coming out very soon, so I feel like my time with Diablo is going to wane a little bit. Because, I mean, you think about just this week, we've got Fallout 76 and Battlefield, and I'm going to be playing Pokemon. I mean, there's big games coming this week. And I think next week is Darksiders. So it's like, shit. Did you have any other games you wanted to talk about real quick?
I'm trying to think if I've even played anything.
I was about to say, I don't think so. I think it's just...
Yeah, it's basically just been Red Dead and Diablo for me.
Okay, well then, I need to spend a couple of minutes to just gush about Tetris Effect.
Oh, God.
Because, goddamn, Tetris Effect is one of the best games of the year. It's so good, Todd. It's so good. Like, I knew it was going to be good. I've been interested in it because basically the pitch of Tetris Effect is like, what if Mizuguchi, the guy who made, Child of Eden and Rez, like, what if he made a Tetris game, basically? And that already is like a good enough sell for me because I'm a huge fan of his, and I really love his style and like his his music and stuff like that, musical choices and stuff. But like, it's so much more than that. Every element of Tetris Effect is so perfect and works so perfectly together. Like, the music is incredible. The rumble, like, you're playing Tetris and listening to the music and the rumble is beating to the pulse of the sound,
Mm-hmm.
The overall sound design. So like, simply listening to the song isn't quite doing the song justice, because as you're moving and placing the Tetris pieces, you're making music as you're doing that too. You'll be moving a Tetris piece and playing with each movement a piece of piano, for example. And it all just gels perfectly. And I mean, Tetris is Tetris, and that's already just rock solid, almost 40 years of game design, just perfect. But they've also added a really, a lot of times they'll add like stupid mechanics to Tetris when they update it, like Tetris Blast, where you knock out a big old, they just do stupid shit. This one, they add the zone mechanic, which is just very unintrusive, where you can basically stack line clears, and you can clear, I think, up to 20 lines just in one solid go. And it's pretty incredible. But that's a very, unobtrusive gimmick. And you could totally ignore it if you wanted to also. You never have to incorporate that into your playstyle. But it's really, really special. And it's PSVR compatible as well. I can't even imagine what that game would be like in VR. It would just be a euphoric... You would just see me on the couch drooling. Like, it would just be a euphoric Tetris, daydream. But it's incredible. I can't say enough good things about Tetris Effect. I know you're not into it, and I know it wouldn't be your cup of tea, but it's so good.
I've never touched Tetris in my life.
Are you shitting me? Todd, have you never played Tetris?
Don't care.
Oh my god. What the fuck? I'm serious. I feel like I just learned a major revelation about you. I had no idea you've never played Tetris. What? How have you gone your whole life without playing Tetris? Where have I failed you? As a family member? As a friend?
I don't know. I've probably played it like once in my life. Do I remember it? No.
My god. I don't... I'm shaken to my core by that.
Good.
I'm shaken to my gaming core, Todd. I don't understand.
Of this episode.
Oh, my god, okay. You basically just told me, like, oh yeah, I've never, like, eaten a pizza.
I wouldn't go that far.
You're basically saying, like, dude, I would go that far. Tetris, fucking, my grandma has played Tetris. Like, Tetris is, like, anyway. That's insane. That's buck wild, Todd. We need to make sure you play Tetris.
No.
Holy shit. You know, I had a friend, my friend Cody, you've probably heard me talk about him. He's never eaten macaroni and cheese. Ever.
See, that's a weirder revelation to me than not playing Tetris.
It's just funny because he just, like, and I asked him, I'm like, why? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm sure it's good, but, like, I've just never eaten it, and now I don't want to start. He's like,
well, you know what? That's how I feel about Tetris.
Well, he thinks it's kind of cool now because he just sort of realized, I think when he was like, 13 or 14 or something like that he's never had it. And he's like, well, I guess I might as well just go the rest of my life without having it now. No, that can't be. You've got to play Tetris, man, at some point. It's so addictive. It's just such a perfect, solid game. I swear to God, the core design of Tetris is still better than 99% of the games coming out today. And so when you mix that with incredible music and visuals and rumble and, like, every element of Tetris Effect just makes it so perfect. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. Anyway, let's move on, Todd. You heathen. I want to talk about some news items. So there's been some pretty significant news items that have happened this past week that I've sort of gathered. And, we, in the past, have talked about not really covering news, but I think that if there's news that I think we can get good conversation out of, I definitely want to work it into the show. There's a few things here that I have on the docket. The first of which is a little bit older piece of news, just a couple of weeks, but I wanted to stop and talk about it because I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Maybe you saw this, maybe you didn't. A pair of recent job listings from Nintendo may indicate that development of the next Zelda project is already well underway. The job listings mention things like dungeon design and in-game events. So, what do you make of that? Where do you think Nintendo should go with the next Zelda?
Well, I know what I would personally enjoy is just work on what they've done with Breath of the Wild and make it better.
Would you want it to be just like take Breath of the Wild's core design ideas and just make a new game in a new world with new characters and all that?
Yeah.
It's interesting because I'm almost wondering, Todd, if this could possibly be... There's a couple of routes that we could go with this. So let's go down the Breath of the Wild route. This could be, like you said, an entirely new game with Breath of the Wild's engine and mechanics and stuff like that. It could be a totally new thing. That has been something that a lot of people have said is, what if they sort of do like a quick turnaround Majora's Mask style kind of Breath of the Wild sequel, where it's like, we can take all of the elements of this game and even most of the assets and do a quick turnaround on a new one. Because Majora's Mask, famously came out, very quickly after Ocarina of Time. They made that game in like a year. So that could be a possibility. I don't necessarily think that we should I don't think that we should necessarily take the idea off the table that maybe it could be DLC for Breath of the Wild.
Oh.
Nintendo has recently come forward and said that they are interested in supporting their currently existing games with DLC, because that is a very popular stance, especially today, is like a lot of games these days, almost every game really that releases these days, Todd, is being supported with post-launch DLC.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
Well, that's the new standard.
That is. It's the new standard. So, and I think Champion's Ballad was a really great sort of place to leave off with Breath of the Wild and stuff like that, and I think they totally could, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they did release some sort of supplemental, just a little bit of more Breath of the Wild. And there have been some fan speculation that maybe, could you imagine what they could do in the Breath of the Wild engine if they did sort of a Four Swords kind of game with it, where 4-player co-op in Breath of the Wild's world, basically?
Bro, that would be insane to me.
That would be crazy. And ever since they started doing like the Trial of the Sword challenges, it's like, what if there was some sort of survival game in the Zelda world?
The thing is, they could totally do it.
Because that's what those challenges already feel like.
Yeah.
What if they did something like that? I don't know. I don't know what I think this is. I don't know if, it's also a clear possibility that maybe it's completely unrelated to Breath of the Wild. It might not even be a 3D Zelda game. It could be a 2D top-down Zelda game. That's typically the way they do it. They sort of go back and forth. And we haven't had a top-down 2D Zelda game since A Link Between Worlds. Or I guess Triforce Heroes. But, so, I mean, we're kind of overdue for one on Switch. So, I don't know.
Fuck that. The future is now, old man.
I mean, I really do want a top-down, like, old-school 2D Zelda game on Switch. I really do want that, and I crave it. But I actually am going to be playing the Minish Cap on GBA pretty soon, just because I crave that top-down style so much. I just want it in my life. But it also, I mean, it could be a 3D Zelda game completely unrelated to Breath of the Wild. What if it's a totally, like, what if they sort of go back to a different design with a 3D Zelda game, kind of more in line with the older style Zelda games?
I mean, I could easily see him do it.
Yeah, infinite possibilities here. I think I like the idea best that it would be sort of a Four Swords style. And here's the deal. What if, how about this, Todd? What if it's a Four Swords style Zelda game set in Breath of the Wild's engine where you play as the four champions? That would be cool. That would be cool.
That just aroused me.
Because that would be an interesting way to be like to play to people's strengths. Like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna play as Rivali, and I'm gonna be I can fly and I can sort of like shoot from a range, and I'm gonna be Mifa. I'm gonna be basically the healer. That'd be really cool.
Man, you already know who I'd be.
You always play the tank. Yeah. That I think that would be really neat. I mean, I don't know if that's something they're going for or what really the plan is for this at all, but
that right there though is a winning idea.
That would be great. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about that. I've got another piece of news, kind of a sad piece of news. Square Enix held a live stream for Final Fantasy 15. Did you hear about this?
Oh, you're talking about where they canceled the last 2 DLCs?
Oh, they did. So they canceled basically 75% of promised upcoming DLC for Final Fantasy 15. Oof. So back in April, fans were told that they would be receiving 4 pieces of downloadable content for the game. So basically, they've been releasing like episodes, like they had like episode Gladio and Ignis and stuff like that. They were going to be releasing episodes Arden, Aranea, Luna, and Noctis, right? And now the only one that's actually releasing is Arden, which is coming out next March.
Okay.
The other 3 are now canceled. And in addition, the director, Hajime Tabata, has actually left Square altogether. So, it's weird. I'm wondering. In other words, what is this news? What is this cancellation news? Coupled with things like there's been other studio closures, such as Telltale and stuff like that, and another one that I'm going to talk about soon. I guess I'm just kind of like thinking out loud about what it indicates for the industry's spending and the sort of trends for downloadable games. Like, downloadable content, single player downloadable content doesn't do well, it sounds like. Like, typically, it sounds like people just don't really buy single player DLC. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with it, or if Square is just kind of like biting the bullet on this one, and they're just kind of like, who's really gonna come back to Final Fantasy 15?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's the thing. After a certain little bit, how long when did Final Fantasy 15 come out?
Came out, I think it came out in 2016.
That's what I'm saying. Like, not many people are going to come back to that game 2 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, it came out, November 29th, 2016. So here we are almost 2 years later. I mean, you're right. Who's really going to come back and dip their toes back in Final Fantasy 15? It's a great game. I had a good time with that game, but like, I wasn't planning on playing any of this DLC, so it doesn't really hurt my feelings, but I do feel bad for the fans that were like genuinely looking forward to it. And it's weird that the director has left the company altogether. It seems like there's maybe some drama behind the scenes. I'm curious about what's going on there. But, Final Fantasy 15 is still a good game. Does this mean that that Square Games moving forward are going to have less of a focus on DLC? Like, should I not expect anything from Kingdom Hearts 3?
I mean, I don't think DLC is a requirement. I mean, it is like the standard, but I don't think it's a requirement if you have just a solid experience.
Oh, I totally agree. But it's also, like you said, it is sort of become an industry standard where it's like, most people now make their purchasing decisions based on, the promise of post-launch support. And I think that's really what it boils down to. Is a lot of people are like, if I'm going to spend $60 on a game, if I'm going to buy one game, it better have post-launch support, or it better have co-op or multiplayer, or whatever the case may be. There is something to say about a big, meaty single-player game where you just don't get anything after the fact, and I personally am fine with that. But I think it speaks to the casual audience and a lot of casual gamers who only maybe buy 2 or 3 games a year, where they're like, you better support this thing after launch. And I wonder if Square's worried about that. I wonder if Square's worried about that, juxtaposed to the fact that single-player DLC doesn't really sell very well, and they just canceled almost all of it for Final Fantasy 15. So, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do next. The other cancellation or closure that I alluded to, I don't know if you heard about this. Strategy guide maker Prima Games is closing its doors.
I did not hear about this.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel weirdly sad about it, even though I haven't bought a strategy guide in years. It's probably been a decade since I bought a strategy guide. Easy.
I'm trying to think of the last strategy guide I owned.
I feel like, didn't you buy one? Did you buy one for just for like the art for like Dark Souls or something like that?
That is something that is a possibility. Let me take a look.
For some reason, I feel like I remember you buying like a Dark Souls.
I know. Let me see. I'm looking right at them actually right now. Let me turn these over here. I think I have one for Dark Souls, Bloodborne. Like I mainly get them just for the art.
Right.
At that point. Like I never really used them for the strategy because I'm not a noob.
Well, it's that, and I think that really the internet has sort of killed the need for them.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Because it's just like, I can't figure this out. I'm gonna YouTube it.
It is kind of sad though, because I do sort of like miss those days. Like where that strategy guide was like kind of a tome of being able to like take the game's world outside of the game and figure out figure out where you needed to go next or whatever the case may be. I do have fond memories of when my dad got our PS2, he got Final Fantasy X with it, and we bought the Final Fantasy X strategy guide. So I definitely had fond memories of Final Fantasy X had like the sphere grid leveling system, and I had there was a sphere grid map that the strategy guide included that I just had like sprawled out in front of me, and I have fond memories of using that to build my characters in FF10.
It's like shit like that reminds me of just like the internet killing like strategy guides. It's just like, remember when you used to have like notebooks of like handwritten cheat codes and shit like that?
Yeah, I used to carry I used to have like I used to have a little notebook. God, I can't believe I still remember this. So, do you remember in Majora's Mask, there's a little group of kids called the Bombers?
Yes.
So, and they had like the Bomber's notebook or whatever was like an item in Majora's Mask. I had a little, like, one of those little black and white composition notebooks that I written on it. It was called the Bomber's Notebook. And
It's really lame.
and my friends and I in like elementary and middle school called ourselves the Bombers. And
Oh, Seth, that's really lame.
I was like 10. I was like 9 or 10 or something. It was me. It was I'm not gonna say all their names, but it was me and like 5 or 6 of my friends, and we called ourselves the Bombers. And we would have little meetings at like recess, where we would trade like Pokemon cards, or we would let each other like borrow each other's games. And in my Bombers notebook, I had a compilation of cheat codes and sort of like, locations for like items in games. And I was almost like an information broker. As the leader of the Bombers, I was like an information broker. So that was the kind of shit I got up to when I was a kid. I know all you ladies are salivating now.
That's that primo nerd shit right there.
Oh, you have no idea the nerd shit I got up to.
Oh, Lord.
I kind of wish I still had that. Every now and then I'll dig through like my old stuff and I'll find like a relic from those times.
Yeah, I instantly burn those.
Instantly burn those memories.
It's just like I delete my Facebook memory.
Exactly. I have fond memories though of those times of like, strategy guides and just like sort of like hanging out with friends as kids and like, and I don't know. Strategy guides are a relic of that time for sure. So remember when video games when you used to have those next to you, and you'd bring that and you would read that while you're taking a shit.
I definitely. I remember I had one for Fallout 3.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that for a fact because I think I recently gave that away to someone.
God, what was the last strategy guide that I bought? I'm telling you, it's been 10 plus years. I think it might have been the first Mario Galaxy. Because if I remember correctly, I think Mario Galaxy 1 came with a really beautiful hardcover strategy guide. And I believe I bought that for that game. And I think that may have been the last strategy guide purchase I ever made. Unless I did buy the strategy guide for Final Fantasy 13, because same thing, it was like a big deal. Let me see when that released. I believe that came out in like 2009. Yeah, it did. December 17th, 2009. So that was probably the last strategy guide I ever bought. Almost exactly 9 years ago. Final Fantasy 13's strategy guide. So good memories, though, and I'm sad that Prima Games is closing its doors, because in a weird way, I do sort of like still going into like GameStop or wherever and like seeing strategy guides on the rack. Like, I know that nobody's really buying them, but it kind of comforts me to see them there, I'm kind of like, It's cool that like some kid is still using this.
So I wanted to make sure which ones I have on my my stand here. Mm-hmm. It's Bloodborne 2. And then, Dark Souls 2 and then Dark Souls 3.
You know what I've always wondered? So Dark Souls 3 would have been your last one then, I guess.
Yes, that would have been the last one.
One thing that I've always wondered is how exactly strategy guides are made. Like, are they... Do companies like, say, Nintendo, do they just, like, give them the game really early and just kind of tell them, go?
Well, I wonder if they use, like, the playtesters.
That's a good point. And also, does Nintendo help them make it? The people who are like intimately familiar with the design of the game, do they help them put that together?
Because I dead ass think that, like, I think Lobos helped with a strategy guide with, like, I think Bloodborne.
That's really interesting.
I don't remember. I remember when I was like watching, like he helped the strategy guide at one point.
I would love to interview somebody who like worked on at Prima Games as at a strategy guide level. Really, really fascinating piece of gaming history, I guess. I'm sure that the guides they already had in the pipe are still coming, but in the future, no more. It's sad.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it is kind of like this. It is a symbol for an end of an era. It's an end of an era. Like it's just like, oh, the internet killed it.
Yep. Internet killed the strategy. Next piece of news I've got here. This is a big one. Microsoft has officially purchased 2 studios: Obsidian Entertainment, creators of games like KOTOR 2 and Fallout New Vegas, and inXile Entertainment, creators of games like The Bard's Tale and Wasteland.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I knew about that, and I was like, that's cool. But then again, it's like, I'm not surprised by this. Microsoft's been going like ape shit buying studios.
Yeah, so Microsoft has grown just inside the past year. They originally only had 6 first-party studios. They now have 13.
Mm-hmm.
So Microsoft studios have literally doubled in their acquisition just within the past year. So to me, and I've said this, I'm not gonna say what I've been saying for forever now on the podcast, but Microsoft, dude, I'm telling you, is gearing up for total war.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I can easily, just with all the shit they've been doing, I could see myself coming back home next gen. Because, like, Xbox 360 was my baby. And it's just like, I hate the Xbox One.
Well, I'm just like, I'm ready to see them put these studios to work. You know? Like, Obsidian is a huge RPG talent. I mean, huge. When you think about Stick of Truth and KOTOR and New Vegas, I mean, these are some of the best RPGs of all time. Mm-hmm. I mean, huge talent that Microsoft now owns. The next game they make is only going to be on Xbox. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see where these partnerships come from. And yeah, inXile, Wasteland, Bard's. I mean, these are hardcore RPGs. Very interesting. And Microsoft and Xbox in general has not really had a solid RPG library really since the closure of Lionhead.
Yep.
Really since, the death of Fable, which I miss Fable, and I still am not convinced that Fable is truly dead. I sort of feel like they're going to bring Fable back. I don't know.
You think?
I feel like they might. But the thing about, if they were to bring Fable back, here's the thing. The best and worst thing about Fable was always Peter Molyneux. Like, I love... It's true. Don't get me wrong. I love Peter Molyneux. Love him. Respect him. Great video game designer. Hugely ambitious. But he was the worst thing because he would not shut up about the game. He would keep promising things and like not delivering.
Yeah.
And like he would also just, some of those later, like Fable 3 was like a weird game. Like that game was weird.
I don't even remember. I vaguely remember like some shit from Fable 3. It's been such a long time.
Yeah, Fable 3 was where like half of the game was like a traditional Fable game, and then like the latter half was you just being a king.
Oh yeah, it was weird.
Like that's fucking weird. And it was like, I don't know. And then they did like Fable The Journey, which was like a Kinect game, and they were doing this.
I never fucked. I mean, I was like, I never fucked with that.
And then they were working on like Fable Legends, which was a weird like kind of asymmetrical multiplayer game. And I'm just like, I don't even know what the fuck was going on over there. Like, so I don't really blame Microsoft for canning the studio, but I'm also just like, that is an interesting universe. Like, I want to see more Fable. I mean, could you imagine if that's what they gave Obsidian?
Oh.
Hey, Obsidian, make the next Fable game? That'd be awesome.
I'd be down for it.
I do think it's sort of the only thing I would be worried about there is I do think it is sort of important that Fable be made by a British studio. Mm-hmm. Because so much of Fable is obviously like the British humor and the British actors.
Yeah.
And
Without a doubt.
So, but I love to think about that. I love to think about what they could do if they were to bring Fable back with a hardcore RPG developer. like Obsidian or inXile. That would be amazing. Anyway, at any rate, it's cool that these people have joined the Microsoft family. I'm very excited to see, like I keep saying, I keep tooting this horn, but it's absolutely true. Like, Xbox is going to be the one to watch next generation. And, like, Sony should be terrified. I've got, I believe, one last piece of news here that I wanted to talk about before we wrap up. And that is that Activision revealed on an earnings call that they are not happy with Destiny sales. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I did.
So they said, quote, "Some of our franchises like Destiny are not performing as well as we'd like. We have not yet seen the full core re-engage in Destiny, which has led to the underperformance against expectations to date. Some players are in wait and see mode. If you're in, you're deeply engaged. If not..."
So are they talking about the overall sales or the sales with the big old expansion?
I think they're talking overall and just sort of like the sort of legs that the game currently has. Because he says
Does it
here...
have legs, though? No, I was just...
This is a quote from Activision COO Cody Johnson. And he says here, "If you're in, you're deeply engaged. If not, we think now's the time to bring players back." Which is weird because it sort of implies like... It sort of implies attention. Like, it's sort of like, oh, well, people aren't buying your game. But the people who are playing Destiny hardcore right now are happier than ever.
Yeah.
Well,
it's just like the people that actually wanted like all the shit in Forsaken, they're really happy. That's all they're fucking playing right now.
The people that are, the people that are in are happier than they've ever been. And so it's interesting to me that has not translated into dollars. That's, I don't know.
Well, so you have the people that have, the people that already own the game, so they're not making money off of them right now.
Right.
Yeah.
But, and they're also doing these things, like, if you read between the lines, I mean, it's sort of obvious, if you've been paying attention, like, that Activision hasn't been happy with the sales, because they've been giving Destiny 2 away left and right.
I know.
They've been giving it away on PC. There was, free PlayStation Plus game right before Forsaken came out. So, I mean, the writing's been on the wall. And it has me curious about the future of Destiny. And to that end, Luke Smith actually made a statement on Twitter. He says, quote, "We are not disappointed with Forsaken. We set out to build a game that Destiny players would love, and at Bungie, we love it too. Building Destiny for players who love it will remain our focus going forward."
See... That makes me happy to hear that, but it's like I honestly think that it was too late for a lot of there is some hardcore people that probably just fell off Destiny 2 and even with Forsaken just said fuck you. It took you this long?
Yeah. I mean, and then, I know I'm in the minority and you are now sort of in the minority with me.
Well, yeah, I was in the middle ground of it all, and I just it was enough for even me to fall out off of it, because it was just like, I had no issue with jumping on that game once a week, knocking everything out and calling it a day.
The game just got a little too big for its britches for me, and it just didn't fit my lifestyle anymore. So, but again, the people who are in are fucking in, and they are happier than they've ever been with that game, You look on the subreddit now, and people are just so thrilled with Forsaken, and finally Destiny 2 is where it should have been. It just makes me think about what is Destiny 3 going to be like at this point? Is Destiny 3's development going to be a little more stinted than before? Because in theory, like, I think that Destiny 3 would have been primed for next fall in theory, but now I'm wondering if they're just going to hold off. Hold off and keep building on Destiny 2 some more, and maybe launch Destiny 3 in 2020 with a new console.
Might be honestly probably be the smartest move.
Because that's more or less what they did with Destiny 1, because Destiny 1 was available on last gen consoles, but obviously was primarily supported on current gen.
Well, yeah.
So I feel like the next Destiny 3 will probably be soon after the launch of PS5, but PS4 will probably still be supported similarly. I don't know. It's just interesting. It's interesting to think of the future of that game based on this sort of juxtaposition between what Activision thinks of the game and what Bungie thinks of the game. Because Bungie's like, we're happy, the gamers are happy, and Activision's like, great, but the game's not selling, and it's not making us money.
Well, that's the point. Activision, they want money.
Yeah, I mean, they're the publisher. They want to make the money off of the game, and the game has not, to be fair, the game, it's not like the game doesn't sell well.
It just doesn't sell to they didn't sell what they expected it to sell.
Right.
Which is...
So, I don't know. Interesting thing to glean, and I just wonder what it means for the future of the franchise. But Todd, that's pretty much all I've got for the news this week. Was there anything else you wanted to add in before we wrap it up?
Tetris is a shit game.
You've admitted in this podcast you've never played it.
And I never will.
You'll play it. You'll play it. I'll make sure of it. I'll see to it. As God is my witness, I will see to it that Todd plays Tetris.
I guess it'll happen in, in April?
I'll force you to play Tetris. There is a Tetris game on Switch. And I will have my Switch in April.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, Puyo Puyo Tetris on Switch. And it's a fantastic game. Oh, yeah, Todd. You're going to play Tetris, and you're going to love it. And you will feel the Tetris effect. The Tetris Effect is actually a real thing. Did you know about that?
No.
So, Tetris is such an addictive game that a common thread that a lot of people experience after playing long bouts of Tetris is that when they go to sleep, they think about or dream about Tetris. And that has happened to me so many times after playing Tetris for like a long time. I'll go to bed and your mind is still thinking about Tetris. Like you're still imagining sort of placing Tetris blocks and stuff. And that is actually a common like psychological thing that happens to a lot of people after playing Tetris for a long time. Because when you play Tetris, I don't know how to describe it. You just enter a flow state and like your brain just sort of goes on autopilot and like and that experience is called the Tetris Effect. So
I see.
That's why the new game is called Tetris Effect. And the new game is excellent, and it's one of the best games of the year. Anyway, Todd, I think that does it for us this week. We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
See ya.
Hey there, thanks for checking out another fantastic Nerd Bourbon video. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, leave us a like, drop us a nice comment, or I guess a mean one if that's your prerogative. But until next time, get dunked on.